Hello again. In the last video I showed you how you could use ovals to help you draw animals, and we're using that same system of ovals, but this time it's to help you draw flowers. Now I've got a quick aside here is if you are passionate about flowers and you want to be a botanical artist, there's various constructional methods out there, because you can divide flowers into shapes: bell shape, and trumpet shape, and multi-headed and spike shape and cotton ball shape, etc. And you can see there's quite a detailed constructive method there. And that's fine if you want to be a botanical artist. And you can get books, and there's I'm sure there's YouTube videos which shows you how to do that, but that's really beyond the remit of this video, because I'm just doing a general drawing course, so I'm just showing you how I would draw flowers, and I don't actually do them by the construction method. So what I use are ovals and shapes. So the first thing is I've chosen the lily because that's one of my favourite flowers actually, and the first thing you do is, just like last week, you try and generalise the shape into an oval. Now you can see if I just loosely take my pencil round it, and actually if it was the actual flower, I would probably just in the air like that, if I had the flower at a distance, I would just in the air draw my pencil and try and see what shape I'm making in the air. So once you've done that, there's, you see, I think it's that sort of oval. So that's your first step. Now the second step is what I've really been banging away at since the first video, is about flattening shape on your retina to be able to draw it. Now you've got to be very careful with flowers, because with something like a lily, you might be very tempted to think, oh yeah, lily shapes are like that, you know, these sort of shapes, very generalised, very blobby kind of shapes, and that's because in your head you've got that. This is your pictogram for a flower. So remember, you're going to want to create that. So this is why you will be initially very tempted to start looking for shapes like that, which don't exist. So once you've done your oval, what I want you then to do is to then start to flatten the petals on your retina. So let me give you an example. It actually helps if I take the shapes individually. So I want you to see that as a shape. See, it's quite an unusual shape. It's a completely different shape to that. But that, you can see there, is this shape petal, and that is this shape. So even though they're the same shape of petal, because they're in a different position, they're quite a different shape. And it's this different shape that you want to actually draw. So again, look, quite a different shape. It just sometimes helps to just take it out of context and see that as a shape. Again, you've got to give your brain time to actually get, for this shift to happen in your head, so you can actually start to see them as shapes. But each one of those is quite different. And again, it goes back to taking your time. So that's how you would do an individual bloom. If you were looking at a vase of flowers, the first thing you would do would be just to do ovals. Now, here's the flowers here. You can see this oval here is quite flat. There, like that, which is this one. This one is a little bit rounder. This one is a little bit rounder, and that's rounder still. So I would start off with something like that. Once I've done that, I could then take an individual bloom, and just as I've showed you with this lily, can you see that petal is quite a different shape to this one here, which is quite a different shape to that. Now, you're going to have to really take your time for your brain to start to see these as flat shapes. And remember, it's quite useful to squint at something, and you squint at it and it flattens it, and then you're able to draw it more easily. When you've done that, if you want to do a bit of shading, remember that often flowers are quite delicate in colour, especially if you've got white flowers. So in this situation, you would actually tone behind the bloom, and that would push the bloom forward. So there we are. That's how I would attempt to draw flowers. So go away and take a single bloom is probably your easiest thing. Something with quite a good construction like a lily, and then if you feel so inspired, draw yourself a bunch of flowers. Thank you very much. Bye.